Hobgoblins and witches and things that go bump in the night.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Evil Dread. I'm Lynn.
And I'm Wyeth, and this week the band is back together.
Last weekend we were scattered to the four corners of the earth, not unlike some dark amulet or something. But now we're back together to wreak havoc.
Lynn was off recharging her energy in the desert wasteland.
So yeah, today you won't have to just listen to me just go on and on about stuff while driving a car.
That was an impressive feat, I have to say.
Thank you. I did have to sneeze in the middle of it, and I'm like, I don't know if he's going to cut this out, but whatever.
Left it in for realism.
Okay, so yeah, today we are back in the comfort of my extremely small apartment, and we watched Evil Dead 2.
We did. We are 2 days out from Halloween.
It's our Halloween episode.
And so we decided to take a visit to our namesake.
Yep, our classic, a true cornerstone of the genre for each of us. So, first of all, do you want to talk about how you became familiar with the series?
Yeah, growing up, I grew up on kind of like the 1950s horror monster movies, and like horror has always interested me, and I feel like anyone, as they begin to like branch out and explore the genre, the Evil Dead series is always kind of like a rite of passage.
I think it's for people who aren't in the horror genre, it's kind of a deep cut, but for people who are interested in the horror genre, it's like a kind of monument to 80s horror.
Yeah, it's kind of like almost a gate. Like a gate to the horror community, and everyone hopefully passes through it.
Everyone knows it. It's like a huge reference in the horror community. And I think its place is kind of starting out extremely earnestly, with just being like a straight horror movie, and then transforming into more of a horror comedy with Evil Dead 2, and finally just like an action
absurd
horror
comedy, yeah.
with Army of Darkness. It really, like, the series has something for everyone. And it I am a huge fan of horror comedies, so I feel like the second one is a huge standout for me and one of the most famous examples of horror comedy.
Yeah, I feel like Evil Dead 2 is the perfect gateway to horror. Like, it's not scary at all. Any violence?
I would disagree. I thought it was scary when I saw it.
Okay. Well, it's a fun scary.
Yeah, it's not scarring like
the first one.
Yeah. Can I tell my story?
I would love for you to tell your story.
Okay, so when I was 13, something like that. 12 or 13. I was in middle school, so like 7th or 8th grade. And I had seen American Beauty on TNT, and I decided I want to be a filmmaker / film writer / director, whatever. So yeah, and so I bought all of these books, like the AFI Film Guide, and like 1001 Movies to See Before You Die, and all this stuff. And I was getting interested in horror, so I remembered seeing in the 1001 Movies to See Before You Die, Evil Dead 2 was in there. So I was like, ooh, I want to see this. Okay, if they say it's funny, and they mention specifically the farewell to arms, cutting off the hand and putting a farewell to arms over it. And I'm like, that's really funny. I'm 12. Okay, I'm going to go down to the independently owned movie rental place, which is still in operation in my town.
Oh, good.
To Tim's Movie Rental, and Tim went to college with my parents.
Those places are a real source of energy.
Yeah, and
the
I
surviving VHS or surviving rental stores,
especially if they're not a chain like that. If it's just some dude who like opened it in my small town, but I always wanted to work there too, but that never worked out. But anyway, so I go there and I'm looking in the horror section and I see Evil Dead, and I'm like, that must be it. It's gonna be so funny. And I take it home, and I am a baby, and it scarred me.
The first one.
The first one.
Okay.
Yes. When the tree rape scene happened. I had to fast forward through it. I was very frightened. I was extremely scared. I was like, this was false advertising. This is not funny. I don't know why anyone would say this is funny. And then I realized they were talking about the second one. But yeah, so that was, my introduction to the series. I was traumatized at a young age by Evil Dead 1.
I saw the Evil Dead 1. I had seen Evil Dead 2 multiple times, and I had heard that's basically like a shot-for-shot remake of 1, but...
Not really.
Well, it's close. It's not really shot-for-shot, but it's a weird
It takes
remake
the first
sequel.
one... Like, the events of the first Evil Dead happen within the first 20 minutes. So, and then they expand on it, but yeah, go on.
But I wasn't prepared for how unfunny it was.
Oh, it is not funny.
Yeah.
We were talking, and the only funny part is when what's it, Tommy or something?
Something
the
like
blonde guy who isn't Ash. They find the dagger, Kandarian dagger, which is like someone's like spinal column with a tiny skull at the top. And Tommy goes, "Huh, it looks like your ex-girlfriend." And that is the only funny part in Evil Dead 1. It is horrific and scarring.
Yeah.
But Lil Bruce Campbell looks so cute.
Yeah, they were a bunch of babies. Bruce Campbell, I'm sure as listeners who know the genre, Bruce Campbell is
And
the
a
king.
horror icon.
Yeah.
Held to the chin. I actually met Bruce Campbell at a horror Comic-Con, well, at Albuquerque Comic-Con in Albuquerque, and a few years ago, and I was dressed as Ash, and I took a picture with him, and he was like, "What are you, Ash Etta?" And I was like, "Yeah." But so that picture is on my mantle, and when people come over who aren't familiar with horror, they ask whether that's my dad. So that's funny.
That's kind of touching. Just go, yes. Our true father.
I don't have a picture of my real father, but I do have a picture of me with Bruce Campbell on my hearth. So
It's an important picture.
it is, yes. So that's how I was introduced to the genre, and good for me that I continued and didn't let that stop me.
So if you're not familiar with the Evil Dead series, it's the proto-trope of...
Cabin in the Woods.
Kids go to a cabin and horror ensues.
All hell breaks loose.
Shenanigans.
Directed by Sam Raimi, his first film. He went on to do all the the first 3 Spider-Man movies.
Drag Me to Hell, which is
yes,
very underrated.
I love that movie so much. I saw that in theaters in high school. It was
It's
iconic.
so good.
It was perfect. Yeah, so he's this amazing horror director who has branched out. He's done some other movies. Become a big, huge blockbuster guy, but
he did
never forgot
Oz
his roots.
the Mighty, or whatever that was
Great
called.
and Powerful.
Yeah,
It was trash.
that's what I hear.
Was not a fan of it. Bruce made a cameo.
What, really?
Bruce cameos in all of his movies.
Well, now I have to see it.
He's like a guard at like the Emerald City or something,
Well,
and he has a shit ton of prosthetics on.
Well, thankfully I can YouTube it.
Oh yeah, you can. I remember playing the Spider-Man 2 video game, which is the best video game ever made, also.
And Bruce gives you instructions?
Yeah, Bruce
Yep.
is the training montage.
Oh my God.
And he's like, I'm gonna go make myself a sandwich while you learn how to web sling. Or
He's
whatever.
the only person to have truly defeated Spider-Man in the movies.
Go on.
He turns away Peter Parker from the theater and won't allow him in.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He's I love Bruce Campbell so much. So Evil Dead 2, it was something about rights. Like, they lost the rights to the first one, so they kind of made a remake / expansion / sequel with Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. So it's kind of the same plot at starting out, where Ash and his girlfriend Linda, this time it's just them two. In the first movie, it was Ash and his sister Cheryl and Tommy and Linda and some other people. But now it's just Ash and Linda, and they go out for a romantic cabin getaway, and they say something like, "What if the people who own this place come back?" And I'm like, for real? Like, you just breaking into a cabin? How did you even know this was here?
Kids.
But anyway, quickly enough, they stumble upon a old-fashioned tape recorder.
Yeah, like not even a tape recorder, like 8-track recorder.
It has like the little circles with
the loops,
film
yeah.
in it or whatever. But so the cabin belonged to Professor Noby, who was studying ancient civilizations and stuff, and he translated. Well, he read aloud some
Latin, which you never
something like that.
Which you never read the Latin out loud.
Kandarian, whatever.
Mhm.
That's not a real language, but he read aloud this passage from the Book of the Dead, the Necronomicon, and that gave rise to a bunch of demons in the woods, and they're coming
Naturally.
to get you. And so yeah, it's a one crazy night. There are demons in the woods, and we're stuck in a cabin movie.
The physical comedy in this movie is on point.
Bruce is a genius. At one point, and this is a super famous scene, he gets into a fight with his own hand. Because his hand is possessed.
Mhm.
And it's turned all gross and demonic and all that. And the hand is breaking dishes on his head and flipping him over. And it is amazing.
Like,
and Bruce
the fact
is doing all
that
of that
he
by
goes
himself.
from just, like, standing still to, like, pretending to pull himself into, like, a 180 flip.
Yes. God, I love Bruce Campbell so much. But yeah, it's... That book that I had was correct about the second one, that it's a perfect combo of horror and comedy.
Mhm.
I think other horror comedies have done similarly well since then, but I don't know. Before then, maybe American Werewolf was a good horror comedy.
Did that come out before?
Yeah, it was like 1980.
Okay. I never found that particularly as funny as Evil Dead.
Okay.
2.
Evil Dead 2 came out in 87, so we're doing this on the 30th anniversary
Oh, yeah.
of the release. But yeah, I think stuff like Shaun of the Dead, Drag Me to Hell,
Tucker and Dale.
yeah, for sure. Why am I blanking?
Cabin in the Woods.
Reanimator.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I think Reanimator was before Cabin in the Woods. But yeah, like stuff like
Or
that
Return
would
of
not
the
exist.
Living Dead.
Yeah, stuff like that would not exist without Evil Dead 2.
Oh, yeah.
Especially Cabin in the Woods, because that's almost in direct conversation with Evil Dead 2.
So much that's come after Evil Dead 1 and 2 owes so much to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Eli Roth got his start with Cabin Fever.
Yeah. I hate Eli Roth, though, and I refuse to see that movie.
We have gone on record with this opinion, but
Eli Roth is trash.
I will say Cabin Fever has some good moments.
I just don't... I'm not a fan of, like, skin falling off and shit like that.
Yeah.
I just can't do it. I can't do extreme body horror. Some body horror I'm chill with. But, like, no. No. Absolutely not. What else? What do you think about the remake?
I'm a big fan of the Fede Alvarez.
Fede Alvarez?
Fede Alvarez. Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I had a very fun. I've only seen it once. I saw it in theaters, and it was a very fun showing. Like it was almost sold out. I went with some friends, and everyone was like really reactionary, but in a fun way.
Okay.
So it felt like a really intense theme park ride.
Okay. I really hate that movie.
Mm-hmm.
It takes all the fun out of the premise. I think it's for me, it's like a more extreme Evil Dead 1.
Yeah.
Like, there isn't kind of the humor or charm in it that, like, made me love the series. And, side note, I'll just tell you how I saw it, at Downtown Movie Theater in Albuquerque, and it was a very dead showing, and it was me and my friends, and then a group of people who, like, got into fights and threw popcorn at each other, and was incredibly disruptive and just violent
Ugh.
during the, showing, to the point where when we left, they gave us passes to be like, oh, we're sorry, we're very sorry.
Oh my god.
And we used those passes to see Place Beyond the Pines. So, it was redeemed. We went to see one of my favorite movies after that. But yeah, the best thing about the Evil Dead remake is getting to see Place Beyond the Pines for free.
Still need to see that. I do love me
Wow.
some sad
Oh
Ryan
my
Gosling.
God. If you ride like lightning, you're gonna crash like thunder, dude.
I liked going back to the remake. I liked just all of it. Like it felt so gritty and intense.
That's not but that's not what I go for Evil Dead for. You know, I understand, like, it was a good horror movie because it scared me, but it was not at all what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love Jane Levy. We've talked about how fucking amazing Jane Levy is on this podcast before. She can redeem very bad movies. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, to each his own.
Mm-hmm.
If you're into, like, really intense, extreme violence horror, Evil Dead remake is good.
Yeah. You should definitely not go in expecting Evil Dead 2.
No, which is what I did.
There you have it.
Yeah. So, other thoughts on Evil Dead 2?
Well, first of all, even though I'm an English major, I'm not a fan.
I can't wait to see what comes after this.
I find Hemingway pretentious AF.
Oh, don't we all?
Like,
he's trash.
I remember in undergrad, I expressed my opinion that I wasn't a fan of Hemingway, and the teacher, like, scoffed.
Oh my god. Sun also rises. Oh, my dick don't work. Oh, I was in war. Whatever.
Mm-hmm. And so,
Is that Sun also rises where his dick doesn't work?
I don't know.
He gets, like, shot in the dick or something.
Probably.
I don't know. He drank too much and he was a misogynist, so whatever.
Mm-hmm. And so, I think Evil Dead 2 has the only good use of Hemingway.
I agree. To trap a demonic severed hand.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my favorite moments in the movie were kind of like, the plot doesn't really matter because it's just like going from one crazy event to another. Like, there's some people come, like the daughter of the professor and her boyfriend, and then some hillbilly wilderness people come, but like they all get killed.
Yeah, they're basically there just for a body count.
Yes, exactly. So it's not just Ash just hanging out. The laughing furniture is my
so
favorite
good.
part.
It's this Popeye-esque scene. Yeah.
Oh my god. So yeah, the house is coming alive, and they cut to this mounted deer head on the wall, and it like is smiling, has white eyes, and it turns, and it's clearly like a dude's hand, like it's a puppet.
Yeah.
And it's like, and Ash is like starts laughing with it, and then a desk lamp starts doing it too, and it goes
a real Robin Williams Popeye.
and they're just like, Ash starts dancing with it kind of, and they're laughing together, and it's just this perfect weird moment of absurd hilarity in the middle of this horrific situation.
That's why I love Three Stooges humor, and that's what so much of this movie is.
It's slapstick for sure.
Like, so much of slapstick can be taken like an easy route, but like the amount of effort that Campbell puts into his performance, and also the camera work is so much fun. Oh my
god, they do so many gags and like gimmicks in this movie. It's great. Like,
I like a lot of horror, or like poorly made horror, is a really shot through a static camera.
Yeah.
And Sam Raimi is constantly like ramming the camera through doors,
running with the camera, flipping it around, doing close-ups and then jump scares,
like sending it into someone's mouth.
Yeah. We were talking, one of my favorite stories, I have a few behind-the-scenes stories from Evil Dead, and in the first movie, they were like, how are we going to show that this demonic force is coming at the cabin through the forest? So Sam is like, all right, I think I got an idea. So they nail the camera or tape it or whatever to a 2x4, and Sam is on one end and someone else is on the other end, and they just run and sprint full speed through the wilderness, and that's how they get the iconic shaky cam, like POV shot from the demonic energy. Mm-hmm. Which is amazing.
Iconic.
You can tell they have no money.
Oh.
And they're just working it.
I know for the first one, Raimi begged around to get to get the budget, which was easily under 500,000.
Yeah, for sure. I do know in the second one that they shot most of it. They went to the cabin that they shot the original one at in Tennessee for the outside shots, but they shot most of it in a high school gym. And they built the cabin set in the high school gym, and sometimes you can see that it doesn't have a ceiling in some of the shots.
Yeah.
And this town, they used the high school, and they built the turnip head huge evil entity that bursts through in the end that Ash has to like
chainsaw
on the eyeball. And that town used Turnip Head in their fall festival, like haunted house.
Which props
celebration.
Props to that town for being like having the coolest prop.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's just there's so many cool stories about it.
Like the behind the scenes for both these movies sounds like a real nightmare.
In a fun way.
Yeah. Sam often used his brother Ted.
Oh, Ted.
Poor Ted. Ted is most of the people in makeup.
Yes. He's
especially
Henrietta.
And the one of the big stories is that the suit, especially under all the set lights, just grew to be like a boiling room in that suit. And at one point you can see sweat like pouring out of the
His
suit's
ear
ears.
hole.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. It's so gross. But yeah, I love that it's a family affair and that all these guys know each other and that we should talk about like how weirdly enough Sam came up and went completely different directions than the Coen brothers.
Yeah, Sam Raimi and
Sam and Bruce lived with the Coen brothers and Holly Hunter.
Holly Hunter,
Frances
Frances
McDormand.
McDormand, and Kathy Bates.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They all lived in this one house and all worked together.
That's so cool.
Like, Bruce Campbell was in the
Hudsucker Proxy?
Was he?
He was in the Hudsucker Proxy.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But he was in the Proof of Concept short film for Blood Simple.
Yo, I love that. Yeah, it's just so funny and cool that they all knew each other. And Bobby Joe in this movie was based on Holly Hunter. There's this... I've listened to the Evil Dead commentary track way too many times, as you can tell. But they talked about that on the commentary track and how when they lived with the Coens and Holly Hunter, at one point, she was like really mean, is what they said.
Oh no!
She's like super like sassy and like southern and just like pissed off most of the time. And she was dressed up and looking really like tons of makeup, hair done, all that stuff. And she was leaving the house once, and Sam and Bruce were like, "Hey Holly, you look really nice. Where are you going?" And she goes, "I'm going to audition to play a hooker, you assholes. Get away from me." And they're like, "Sorry."
Yeah, apparently Joel helped to put together Evil Dead 2 in the editing room.
Yeah, Joel helped edit.
That's crazy.
Which is so... I love that we talk about them like we know them also. Joel, you know Joel Coen? Yeah. His brother Ethan. But,
I do love the Coen brothers.
yeah. And then there's this amazing story. There's a moment in Evil Dead 2, and it's clearly ADR'd, and it's so funny because Ash is getting beat to shit by the body of his girlfriend. Well, the severed head
that
of
has
his
just
girlfriend.
latched onto his hand.
And it's like hitting him in the face and all this stuff. And he's like falling over himself and clearly ADR'd in. He goes, "Work shed." And he's like, I need to get to the work shed. But to like let the audience know, he's like, "Work shed."
And he runs in the opposite direction of the woodshed. Like, I just caught this viewing.
Well, Bruce said that when he was making Escape from LA
Oh my god.
with Kurt Russell, the first thing Kurt Russell ever said to him, he walked up to him and he went, "Say work shed." And Bruce is like, "Oh my god, I didn't know you were such a fan of Evil Dead."
Oh my god, that's
Say work
amazing.
shed. Can I say the lady who plays Bobby Joe? I do not know the actor's name, but my mom always watched One Life to Live growing up, and she was Blair. She was Blair, who was a bitch.
That means nothing
show.
to me.
I know, but I'm just like, I watched that and I was like, oh my god, it's Blair from One Life to Live. This is what she did before soap operas.
It's quite the past.
Evil Dead 2. Yeah. Great movie.
Fantastic. I've shown it to a lot of friends, to wildly mixed.
And then you stop being friends with them?
Sometimes.
Right? We watched it a lot in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I one time I loaned like all of them to a friend over the weekend. He came back and he's like quoting it all over the place and saying groovy and shit. It was great. It was awesome.
I wanted to see it in high school, but at that time, like, I knew this was a movie that I couldn't ask. Like, hey mom, could you go rent this from the video store? Because my parents were so like,
parents.
they reviewed each movie, and I had to like argue its case.
How do they feel about what you're doing right now with me?
Well, they're proud of me in general.
Oh, okay.
I love my parents.
They're like, oh, this sinful thing that Wyeth is
they're
engaging in.
You present them as way more conservative than
okay.
they are.
Well, you've only talked about how you were not allowed to watch a bunch of
right.
movies as a kid.
They were a lot more conservative in high school.
Okay.
And so, but sometimes I was able to like successfully argue my case. Like that's how I got all of George Romero's movies.
Oh my god. Okay.
Because I was like, hey,
it's about capitalism.
Political commentary. Oh, and my parents were like, we'll allow it.
I asked we were shopping on Black Friday in Dallas and with my grandma, and I was like, Nana was like, do you want anything for Christmas? And I'm like, Evil Dead 2? She's like, fine, I guess. So I got my grandma to buy me Evil Dead 2
nice.
for Christmas.
Man, grandparents are like the best go around.
Yeah. With no review.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, fine, I don't understand your tastes. They're trash. Okay.
Yeah. When I was little, my dad's parents would tape record all the old, like, 1950s monster movies that would come on AMC around Halloween.
Yeah.
And that's how I got to see all those.
Cool beans. That's rad. Thoughts about Army of Darkness?
I love Army of Darkness. This was a movie that I was watching one time in the kitchen of my house, and my sister, this was like high school, I think it was high school, and like my mom and sister were in there, and they even started watching it and thought it was funny. So I think that says how like...
It has crossover appeal.
How acceptable it is compared to the previous two movies.
I love Army of Darkness so much. In high school, that was probably my favorite movie. Like, I told people that's my favorite movie. I can quote it backwards and forwards. I know the fucking script. I know in and out. It's so good. It's, as someone who loves horror, but had a difficult time with the first one, I thought it was, like, the perfect movie. Because it has the spookiness, because they're, walking around Harryhausen skeletons. There's, like, scenes in the graveyard. It has all the best special effects. The bad ash and good ash and all the little ashes and all that. I think it's just...
It goes...
Practical effects are a dying art, and Raimi is so good about using them.
Yeah. Even in Drag Me to Hell, there's still a lot of physicality in that movie.
Oh my god. That movie will make you throw up.
Oh, it's so gross.
A lot of stuff gets in that bitch's mouth.
Like, you gag so much, but you're, like, laughing while you do.
Formaldehyde. That was probably one of the most enjoyable theater experiences I ever had. I was screaming and laughing and just so grossed out. But it was so fun. What year
did that come out?
2011, maybe? 2010?
I think, 2010, 2009, something like that.
Oh, yeah. I think it was 2009.
I'm trying to remember if it
And that's rated PG-13.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm trying to remember if that was the same year that Splice came out.
Ooh, okay.
Why? Because I saw Splice and Drag Me to Hell with the same group of friends, and they were just, wildly different reactions.
Did they like Splice?
We weren't sure.
I'm not a fan of that movie.
I'm still not sure.
Adrian Brody is like ugly hot, but other than that,
like,
no, thank you.
Everyone,
I didn't like that he had sex with it.
Me neither. Like, everyone was deeply uncomfortable after Splice, and we, like, my friends and I talked like, well, if that's kind of the point of some horror movies, so it achieved its job, but we still didn't like it. And I'm even one who usually likes body horror.
Yeah.
But Drag Me to Hell, like, everyone was just, like, dying laughing.
It's so fun.
It was so much fun.
I love that movie. Will you look up who directed Splice? Because he went on to do...
He did Cube.
Yes, but he went on to do episodes of Hannibal and
Really?
I believe American Gods.
I could believe that.
I know Hannibal.
He's a very good director.
It's like Nico Valabalala or something.
Yeah, that sure was it.
Nico Valabalala.
Vincenzo
Vincenzo Natali. I switched the letters, but there's a V and an N. Vincenzo Natali is an amazing director, and he did some kick-ass episodes of Hannibal. But anyway.
Anywho, yeah. See Evil Dead 2 and
Raimi
then watch...
is our patron saint.
And then watch Drag Me to Hell. That's like a perfect afternoon's double feature.
Definitely. They're very much similar in tone. And I love that for 2010, the new Bruce Campbell was Alison Lohman also.
Yeah.
A very small, feminine, blonde lady. She just gets beat to shit by demons. It's great.
So, because The Evil Dead is such a popular series, we also have Ash vs. Evil Dead, a television series.
Yeah.
And I've seen the first season and like half the second season, and I've loved it all. Like, it's more or less... I know we'll get to your concerns.
I'm frowning.
You sure are, making that face.
I look like Guillermo the Turtle.
It feels like a natural continuation of Ash's character from Army of Darkness, who is like beginning to show signs of being an asshole. And now he, in Ash vs. Evil Dead, like, he's old and just kind of like this dirty old grandpa. And I find, since it's Bruce Campbell, I find it lovable. Counterpoint.
Extremely mixed feelings on Ash vs. Evil Dead. I think it's incredibly fun, and I was waiting for like a Bruce Campbell continuation of the series for a decade and a half or something, ever since I started watching the show, but or watching the movies. I don't know. I feel like it retconned his character so hard because I don't know. It's not really the Ash that I loved in Evil Dead 2 and 3, Army of Darkness. I don't know. He makes, like, gross racist jokes and is super misogynistic, and I don't know. It's just, like, you don't have to be this non-PC asshole old dude just to show that you're, like, grizzled and, like, have had a hard life or whatever. Like, the Ash that I love, like, his love for Linda brought him back from being a demon. Like, he's a genuine dude.
A good guy in the first couple movies.
And, well, I would argue in Army of Darkness, too. I don't know. I think he's more funny and over the top in Army of Darkness, but he's still genuine and kind most of the time. I don't know. But I'm not the biggest fan of what they've done with his character in Ash vs. Evil Dead. I think the writing could be stronger. Like, the finale of season 2 was didn't make any sense. But that being said, there are some moments that are so kick-ass, like when he fights the colon monster in the morgue.
My God.
That is crazy and funny and over the top and silly and amazing. And then there is a plotline in the second season where it's posited that maybe he made it all up and he's in a mental institution.
The puppet.
The puppet!
I forgot about the puppet.
I want the puppet.
It's so good.
I think they mass-produced the puppet.
I'm
really
pretty sure.
But yeah, there's an ashy slashy puppet that looks exactly like him, and they use for like therapy means or whatever, but it talks back to him, and it's like...
It's so good.
Has like the worst mouth on it ever. It's funny and it's fun and it's stupid, but don't think too hard about it and try not to be offended if you really love Ash and you see that they've made
if you
him
are wary of character
just
assassination.
a huge
And
prick.
what's her name in it? Xena.
Yeah, Xena's in it, and she's great.
She's so good.
I love her. Lucy Lawless.
Lucy Lawless. There we go.
She plays Ruby, a demon, and they're great together. I like them lot.
She's a great foil to Ash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Watch Ash vs. Evil Dead. Not really for plot or character.
If you
but
love the Evil
over
Dead
the top
series,
gore and fun. Like his car gets possessed at one time. There's some really great homages to older horror tropes that I love a lot. Lee Majors plays his dad. It's really goofy and fun.
mm-hmm.
But don't take it too seriously.
like the movies themselves.
Yeah. Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 3 premieres on my birthday, February 25th, so I'm sure we're gonna talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And right now they're in the middle of a campaign called Bring Back Boomstick, and it's like a hashtag, because apparently their ratings on Stars have been not great because a lot of people have been illegally downloading, which
sucks. Because
Wow.
that stuff like pirating, it doesn't really affect big things like Marvel.
That's true. Yeah.
But for smaller things, like especially television, when it's
Mhm.
such a labor of love,
Yeah.
that can really gut it.
For sure. So, pay for the content you like from creators that you enjoy. I understand we are both poor also.
Mhm.
But, do your part. So they're trying to bring it back for season 4. It's kind of on the bubble right now, which
Yeah.
is an industry term for almost canceled or maybe will be canceled. So yeah. That's what's going on with the Evil Dead property right now.
Well,
Well,
would you like to transition into our other big Halloween movie, which is
Yes.
becoming a tradition?
yes.
So speaking of Marvel, this week, Taika Waititi's
Yeah!
Thor Ragnarok comes out.
Yes. Oh my
Taika
God.
is a personal favorite of ours.
He is the only good man.
That might be a sweeping generalization. Sure,
No,
it's out.
it's true. So yeah, on Wyatt's birthday, Friday night, he always has a Halloween/birthday party. It was really fun, and we watched What We Do in the Shadows, like we did last year, at the same party.
Which I'm okay with this becoming tradition because that movie is perfect.
It's so good. So, wait, can we talk about our costumes real quick?
We sure
Because
can.
they were really good. So Wyeth was Marshall Lee from Adventure Time, and I got to do his vampire makeup. And Al was Fiona from Adventure Time, and I did not get to do her makeup, but it was fun.
I don't think she needed makeup.
She didn't, but we sprayed her hair, and it was fun.
If it hasn't been brought up before, Lynn is a borderline professional makeup artist, and she has done some amazingly intense jobs over the years.
Thank you.
I'm constantly seeing like trip down memory lane pictures of your gruesome makeup display.
I did a Ash Williams makeup at one point. Maybe I will post that on the Twitter. Perhaps. Maybe not.
It looks great.
Thank you.
And so she went all out on my vampire
Mm-hmm.
makeup, and I was very impressed with how it looked.
I am so glad you liked it. And then I was Nikki Swango from Fargo season 3. I just looked like I was dressed very promiscuously. But for those in the know, they knew. So yeah, but it was a really fun Halloween costume.
Hashtag justice for Nikki.
Justice for Nikki. She should not have died, spoiler alert. Sorry. Like, that was not good. I am glad Mr. Wrench survived her, however.
Avenged her.
The greatest death hitman in all of Minnesota.
Is there any other death hitmans out there in
That's
the
what I'm saying.
pop culture lexicon?
I don't know. Anyway, so we watched What We Do in the Shadows, and since this is one of your favorite movies, it's one of my favorite movies too, but you're very passionate about it, I'm gonna let you take it.
So it's mockumentary, very much in style of
Spinal Tap?
Spinal Tap, or if you've seen any of like Christopher Guest movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a household of New Zealand vampires.
Flatmates.
And they're just the lamest people. And I love it.
love them so much. So there are 4 vampires. The main guy is Viago, played by Taika Waititi, who wrote and directed this movie with Jermaine Clement, also directed Thor 3.
Hunt for the Wilder People,
Yes,
which I hear is a perfect movie.
Is such a lovely, cute man. But anyway, he plays Viago, who is the sweetest, most purest vampire to
so
ever
true.
exist in popular culture.
His eyebrow work alone is comedic gold.
He's just so funny and sweet and nice and fussy and likes everything clean. But anyway, so he's kind of the main guy, and then we go to Deacon, who is the younger bad boy vampire, and he's really lame, and he does erotic dances for his friends.
If you were a vampire, no good. If you were a Nazi vampire, then you out of luck.
He has done some terrible things in the past. And then there's Vladislav, who is played by Jermaine Clement from Flight of the
love him.
Conchords, and he's kind of like the sexy one.
The most Dracula
Yeah,
inspired.
he's like,
The
I go
polka.
for a look called dead but delicious. Which I also do every morning.
I like to poke my victims.
Vladislav the Poker.
And then there's, in the basement is Peter, like
Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Full Nosferatu.
like an 1,000-year-old vampire.
Yes. And it's just really so funny for no reason.
It's so dry.
It's The Office for vampires.
It really
It's
is.
just mundane, stupid stuff. They argue about who gets to wash the dishes. Deacon, you have not washed the dishes in 5 years. 5 years it's been sitting there.
Like, there's a whole montage of, like, trying to figure out what to wear
Yes, oh my god.
before they hit the town, and since they can't see the reflection in mirrors, they have to style for their flatmates.
They have to, like, model it, and Deacon has, like, a sketch pad, and he tries to draw them. And they have, like, a coat rack, and they, like, put a hat and outfit on it, and then they, like, walk it down, and they're like, this is what you would look like.
Most of our clothes are from victims. You're eating someone, you think, ooh, that's a nice pair of pants.
Oh my god. There's a moment, my favorite moment in the movie is when Viago is showing that he doesn't have a reflection, and he has a teacup and he holds it up in the mirror, and it's the cup floating, and he goes, "Ooh, a ghost cup." A ghost cup.
Oh my god, I just love this movie.
It's
It's
so
so
sweet.
pure. And so the movie,
You wouldn't think it would have like such a heart of gold.
yeah,
but it does.
like, and the movie progresses, and another vampire joins them.
Nick. I hate Nick.
Nick is like
God.
just like a dude bro who ends up getting turned by Peter,
Yeah.
and he's such an idiot. And
He goes around town and he's like, I'm a vampire, you know, and the people are like, no, and he's like, you seen that movie Twilight? I'm in it. I'm Twilight.
I'm Twilight.
And he's like, Twilight! And Deacon's always like, shut up, Nick! You are not Twilight!
But thanks to Nick, the film's best character comes in.
Stu!
Oh my god, I love Stu. Stu is the friend that we all deserve.
He is just a human IT guy who was friends with Nick, and then all of the vampires meet him and love him.
We quite liked Stu.
Mm-hmm. They're like, is Stu coming around? You can come if Stu comes.
I'm knitting for Stu.
I'm knitting a scarf for Stu.
And like, one of the best scenes is when Stu like hooks the house up to the internet.
Oh my god.
And the vampires all like freak out at a YouTube clip of the sunrise.
That is so sweet though.
Mhm.
They're just like, oh, oh! And it's like Google, like iMovie effects. And
Yeah.
they're like, oh!
Oh, it's so good.
They hadn't seen the
and they
sunrise
get
in
and
a
they
long
all get
time.
cell phones.
Yes. Oh, it's so sweet.
Oh, there is a crucifix behind you.
It's so funny.
Oh, it's so good.
What else? What else happens in this? So many things happen.
So
in
the
that movie.
whole movie builds towards,
The Unholy Masquerade.
which is like Wellington's.
It's set in New
lame-
Zealand.
It's Wellington's lame prom for all the undead people.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
And Nick, being an idiot, invites Stu to it.
He was like, this said +1. Didn't say +1 couldn't be a human.
And so
So he's brought him to an all-you-can-eat
so
buffet.
all the flatmates like all end up like protecting Stu. It's so sweet.
They're like, oh, the Beast, who is Vladislav's ex-girlfriend, who's like the guest of honor, shakes Stu's hands, and she's like, oh, are you a male witch?
A warlock.
A warlock, maybe?
Your
A zombie?
hands are quite warm.
And Viago has to be like, he's not a male witch. He's actually more like a human. Everyone like loses their shit.
I love the build up to the ball, because when was it Vladislav learns that it's the Beast,
he loses
he
it.
just like goes into depression.
It has the best quote in the movie. May I deliver it?
Yes.
They ask him to come to the ball, and Vladislav says, "Leave me to do my dark bidding on the internet." And they say, "What are you bidding on?" He says, "I'm bidding on a table."
Like, so much of the humor is just in that same vein.
Yes.
Just very dry, and because it's all delivered by, like, vampires.
So funny.
That's so good.
They're like, "Welcome, unholy creatures of the night." That's us.
Like, I love the scene where Viago brings home a woman, and the woman's, like, telling him about how she's finally getting her life together.
And she's gonna go travel, and she wants to see
going,
the world.
She's going to finish uni. She's going to finish university. And, like, as she's telling it, Viago's face just continuously drops because he knows he's about to eat her.
He's setting out, like, newspaper and towels all over the place, and he's like, "Okay, excuse me, I'm gonna move this," and he moves her hair out of the way, and he's like, "Ah!"
And he hits a vein, and, like, geysers of blood
Gushing.
to hilarious effect. And afterwards he's like, "Well, I like to think that she had a nice time."
He's so sweet. Can we talk about the fact that he came to New Zealand for a woman, and for a human woman, because he was in love with her, and when he got there, she was already married.
Because his
servant, his Renfield,
misidentified his coffin, so it remained...
He put the wrong postage on it, so it went around the world.
So he was in a coffin for, like, at sea for 18 months or something like that.
So he gets to New Zealand, and she's married, but he still, like, holds a candle for her, and it's really sweet. And so by the end of the movie, he finds her at a nursing home, and she's, like, in her 90s.
Yeah.
And he's very sad, and he watches her, and he loves her, and he wishes he could be with her. And it has the most unexpectedly heart-wrenching line of the movie, which is... And I'm going to try to do Viago's voice, I guess.
I think you've been doing a good job
Thank
so far.
you. He goes, "People say vampires' hearts are dead and they don't feel anything, and I don't know, it's dead, but I think I feel things." And I'm like, "Oh, God!"
Like, there's a real sense of heart in this movie.
I think I can still feel things with it.
And eventually he bites her and turns her into a vampire.
It's really sweet.
It's so precious.
So he gets with this super older lady, and at the end he's like, "People say about the age difference that, oh, what is this woman doing with the man 4 times her age?" I say, "Call me Cradle Snatcher if you want, I don't care." Because he looks like 35.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
It's just a very pure, sweet movie.
Mm-hmm.
And with a lot of, like, death in it.
Yes. Like, the amount of blood is very Evil Dead 2 levels.
There's a lot, and it's really funny.
Like, they subvert a lot of, like, the tropes of vampires to really comedic effect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, vampires can't eat anything other than blood. Nick eats a single French fry and just, like, spends the rest of the night, like...
vomiting geysers of blood.
Geysers of blood in
and
the
they're
alleyway.
Like, "He ate the chip." And he gets really mad because he's like, "Can't even eat chips. Chips are my favorite food.
This
I
is
hate
stupid.
I don't want to be a vampire anymore."
So good. Yeah, I kind of, like, just want everyone, whoever listens, to just, like, go see this movie.
Can we... I don't think it would be fair to stop talking about this before we talk about the werewolves.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, do you think?
So, like, there's a greater community of supernatural beings in
I
Wellington.
love that there are 2 vampire girls who look like 14 who eat pedophiles.
Yeah, exclusively Prey on pedophiles.
They're like, oh, what are you guys doing? You gonna kill some pedophiles tonight? That's cool.
Yeah, I love that. And so it's a real West Side Story when the vampire flatmates bump into a group of werewolves.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's so
We're
funny.
werewolves, not swearwolves.
Yeah. Because it's Rhys Darby who played Murray on Flight of the Conchords, and he's the head of the werewolves. He's the alpha
The
male.
alpha. I'm the
so
alpha.
funny.
They all have to listen to me.
It's very sweet. And at the end, Stu gets attacked by the werewolves,
Oh, so sad.
and you think he's dead.
McCall was so worried at the party.
I know. What's the fashion a mask out of crackers and then getting attacked by ducks?
Oh, how did that line? Oh, when
Nick is sad because Stu is dead.
Mhm.
So Deacon comes over and he's like, this is what being a vampire is like. You make friends with humans and they have a tendency to die. They get old and their brains go to shit and they cannot speak and they smell bad and they cannot remember anything. Or they die early because they fashion a mask out of crackers and they are attacked by ducks. But they will always die and you will outlive everyone, and that's just how it is. I hope I made you feel better.
So Stu, gets attacked by werewolves and you think he's dead, and then he comes back as a werewolf.
Which is great.
Yeah, and I love that they kind of hint that he's like about to replace the alpha.
Really?
Like I always got that
I didn't
kind
get
of sense.
that. That's funny.
Like I felt like Rhys Darby's character was kind of worried that Stu is trying to steal his title of alpha.
Well, they go and visit the vampires, and it's so funny because they're like, Stu is back! Oh my god! And they like all hug, and then like Stu makes a peace treaty between the vampires and the werewolves, and it's really sweet.
I love that everyone took the death of Stu so hard in the house.
Yes.
Like Deacon.
Oh my god!
Like Deacon just sitting in a room waiting for this, like with the windows open, waiting for the sunrise.
No, he was watching the sunrise on the laptop.
No, he was, but he was also
He
windows.
fell asleep though.
Yeah, because he wanted to commit suicide.
No, okay, I thought that meant he was just being very like he
'Cause-
wasn't thinking. He just fell asleep watching the sunrise. Because Viago comes in, he's like, Deacon, oh my god, you're going to be fried to a crisp. No, go back to bed. Be careful next time. And he's like, okay. It's great.
Oh,
so
so
great.
good.
It came out a few days ago that Taika is working on a TV adaptation for America.
I didn't know he was.
I know. When I heard he was involved, I was like, okay, bitch, maybe.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
at first I was like, no, ma'am. But Taika's involved, so perhaps.
He is also working on, well, very slowly on a sequel.
We're wolves.
WE''RE space wolves.
Wolves.
Which I think is so clever.
So yeah, it's gonna be about the werewolves, which
Very
would be
excited about that.
amazing.
I hope the vampires get a small cameo.
Oh, I hope so. Especially Viago. He's
Yes.
so sweet.
So good.
Sweetest pop culture vampire, which I have immense love for a lot of pop culture vampires.
You do.
But I think Viago is
Hands down the nicest.
purest.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Viago and then there's like Spike from Buffy, and one is cool, but one is nice.
It's true.
Yeah. Okay, any other things about What We Do in the Shadows?
Perfect movie is perfect.
Go see Thor 3 and support our boy.
Mhm.
Supposedly it's the best reviewed Marvel movie.
Which I'm
history.
astounded, yeah.
Even more so than Winter Soldier, which I really enjoyed.
That was a great one. And even more than the first Guardians, which I kind of hold as a benchmark.
Okay. So yeah, go see it. Jeff Goldblum's in it. Another only good man.
Another great reason.
Mm-hmm.
Personal favorite of both of us.
Yes. Okay, personal picks?
Yes. So last week, while you were off in the desert restoring,
You act like I went to like a sweat lodge and like communed with
Listen,
fox spirits or something.
I like spreading this legend of you.
I went to Albuquerque to visit a friend. Anyway, go on.
So Anna Louise and I watched Housebound, and we
Love
were
that movie.
we were planning to do an episode about it, but we watched it a little too late, and we were just so tired because school.
We both dropped the ball last week. Anyway, go on.
But Housebound is another New Zealand comedy.
New Zealand, has it like horror comedy on lock. I swear.
Lynn just tried to drop a mic. But
No,
there was
I'm
no
just
mic in her
making
hand.
hand gestures. I feel strongly about this.
It's so good. I feel like Housebound kind of got lost in between like What We Do in the Shadows and the Babadook.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree.
So I think it's on Netflix. So like 99% of the population
You don't have an
doesn't have an
excuse
excuse
not to watch it. It's a great movie.
It's so good. It's about this girl who is caught trying to steal an ATM.
Which, if you've seen Breaking Bad, you know that's stupid.
It's harder than it is.
Yep.
But they broke into that ATM so much more easily than they do in Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And so she goes home. She's a very angsty young 20s.
She has an ankle monitor.
Mm-hmm. And she does not get along with her mom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking up names so we can make this easier because I am just blanking.
So I saw this a few years ago. The premise of the movie is, what if you lived in a haunted house and you were on house arrest?
Yeah, which I think is very clever.
It's super funny.
It's also, there's a lot of heart.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It has scares and spookiness and twists and turns, but it's also like pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm. Like the relationship between Kylie and her mom is very troubled. The mom is like the sweetest little lady ever, and Kylie is just super angry at her mom for her dad leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, her mom remarried, and Kylie doesn't want to be there with her stepfather and her mom, who she feels like betrayed her. But, like, as the movie moves along, you see how the mom is, like, really supportive, really loving, and trying to care for Kylie, who rejects it most of the time. And eventually Kylie starts to come to, like, care for her mom.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really touching, character growth.
Yes, for sure.
And so, but alongside all this is, like, the house just, like, creaks and noises and...
That Motorola.
Oh, my God. A random...
Moto.
Yeah. A real 2009
Throwback.
noise. Yeah. So a random Motorola noise can be heard roaming the halls at night.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it like... Didn't it used to be like a boarding house or something?
It's revealed that it used to be a boarding house for, like, troubled kids.
Mm-hmm. So there's supernatural aspects, but there's also, like, some really real-life explanations that are just kind of scary. I don't know. It's a great mix of supernatural horror and real-life horror.
There are several very big red herring moments.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
But the movie does such a good job that each red herring feels less of like a cheap trick, because each one feels well thought out, and it's usually like review. Each red herring is actually used to like build characters.
It's super well written.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about the guy who lives in the walls?
Yes, he's
'Cause I love
Eugene.
him. Yeah.
Like, it turns out that what's haunting this house is this.
Well, there is a ghost entity because of like the doll being possessed and talking.
No, that was Eugene.
No, it wasn't.
Yes.
No, it wasn't.
There's no ghost.
No, it was a ghost.
No, there's no
There
ghost.
was definitely a ghost.
No.
There was a ghost, Wyatt.
There's no fucking
There
ghost.
was?
I watched this last weekend.
I'm not gonna argue with you about this because I know I'm correct, but we can go on and disagree because there are both supernatural and real life entities at the house.
Anyway, there's a guy living in the walls, Eugene,
I love
and
him.
he's super shy.
At first, you think he's evil, and he's the person who's been killing things. And people.
He is coated from head to foot in
Dust
and dust and drywall dust. That's it. And so it's like this movie feels like a more violent Home Alone meets a kinder Don't Breathe.
Wow. Okay.
Like the movie does such a great job with the like geography of the house.
Mm-hmm, that's true.
Like a lot of movies, the camera doesn't ever really explore the house, and as such, it never really feels like a real space.
Yeah.
But this house feels so well mapped out to me.
It's a solid movie. It's really entertaining and funny and clever, but also scary.
Yeah, it's very, like, I forgot how, like, creepy at the beginning it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that it was creepy again after a couple viewings.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So that's my recommendation. I'm also very excited to play the new Wolfenstein game that just came out. Which, have you heard about the marketing?
I'm nodding. Yes. I forgot this was a completely audio medium.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes. So, Wolfenstein is a video game. I've mentioned this a month ago. I was talking about how excited I am. It's out. It's getting great reviews. The campaign slogan has been "Make America Nazi Free Again." And I think it's fantastic.
That's funny.
So if you're into, like, killing Nazis with a hatchet, this is your game.
Between that and Green Room, you should definitely know where we stand on the alt-right issue.
You also get to fight the KKK in this game.
Ooh,
which is
KKK fuck off.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I'm hopefully going to play that this week, and I will give my opinions next weekend.
Racists, go die.
Make racists afraid.
Yes, awesome. Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay, I have a personal pick as well. It's not a horror movie, but it certainly has spooky elements. Mostly just in visuals and like aesthetic choices. But it's called Little Sister. It's on Netflix too. It was directed by Zach Clark, who is kind of an up-and-coming indie writer-director. He did another movie called White Reindeer, which I want to see, and it's it's a Christmas movie, but it's about like finding Coke. So,
what?
So that's why it's called White Reindeer.
Oh.
So it's like a drug Christmas movie.
Okay.
But anyway, so it's a movie about, I think, Colleen. Her name's Colleen, and she is a nun in training.
Mm-hmm.
She's studying to be a nun in New York City. She's really sweet and kind, and she gets an email from her mom, who she has not spoken to in a long time, that her brother is home from Iraq. So, and this is in 2008, I think.
Okay.
It's set like right before the Obama election.
Yeah.
And so her brother is home. He was in an extremely bad roadside bomb incident. He's super disfigured. And he's living in like their
Okay, I know what you're
pool
talking
house
about. Yeah.
or something. So she decides to come home unannounced. She borrows her Mother Superior's car. Her Mother Superior, played by Barbara Crampton from Reanimator and Beyond the Gates. And yeah, so also You're Next, Barbara Crampton, horror legend, is in this movie. So Colleen drives home to, I think it's North Carolina. It's around Halloween. Her mom is played by Ali Sheedy from The Breakfast Club. Her dad is really sweet. Her mom is kind of off. Like, I think she, when her son was hurt, I think she attempted suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And so now her parents, like, smoke weed all the time and are kind of not in a great place. And the brother's home and he won't let anyone see him, and he's burned completely, like, all over his face and body. And so Colleen comes home and she tries to connect with her brother, and she connects with him by going goth again, because when they were teens he like took her to see Gwar, and they were both really into like Marilyn Manson and stuff. So she like dyes her hair bright pink and wears her goth outfit and lipstick, and to make him feel better, because people are equally looking at her as they are to him. So it's like I don't know, it's just it's one of those really humane like family drama movies where like someone comes home, some young adult comes home to like reconnect with the family and sees that like you can never really go home again kind of thing. But it has this really sweet goth twist, which is awesome.
It sounds like it has a lot of heart.
It's great. It's so sweet and good. And it all culminates in, I think I mentioned this before, the only other like perfect visual representation of Halloween and how I feel Halloween
that's right. You
is
showed
in
me this
Little
clip.
Sister, and Little Sister and the Guest. They're both like on that level for me. So they have a Halloween party, and the mom makes edibles and doesn't tell anybody. So
Get turned.
they're all like super stoned, and they're all dressed up in the house.
They're
They
just dancing.
make like silly like Halloween treats and everything, and
They do the blindfold and they make you touch like spaghetti.
yeah, it's just really a sweet movie, and I love it so much. There are some kind of more salacious elements, which is interesting, because I think that's just kind of Zach Clark's thing. Like, they go to see Colleen's friend from high school, who is like a PETA terrorist.
What?
And she like has videos of her like breaking into like factory farms and like making bombs and stuff, and she lives with her parents now, and
Yikes.
the brother's friends from high school like kidnap him and like get him a hooker, and like, I don't know. So there's more salacious elements in it, but it's all in this very like humane, sobering like family drama.
The salacious parts don't make up the bulk of the movie.
No, certainly not.
There's real heart.
But it's kind of like, ooh, that's a little weird and odd
Yeah.
and over the top. But it makes it interesting, too. So, Little Sister is on Netflix, and so you have no excuse not to watch it. It's really sweet, and I love it. And she decides to be a nun at the end, which is great.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Goth nuns.
They're out there.
Yeah.
If you're one, come talk to us. We have questions.
Mm-hmm. Please do. Send us a Twitter message at EvilDreadPod. So, yeah.
Well, next week is something we're currently working on.
Stranger Things 2.
Nailed that.
That
intro.
was that
Nailed
was
it.
the Stranger Things.
If you're like
theme
us,
song.
you've spent a good portion of
This
this weekend just burning through them.
I'm on episode 7. I think you are too.
I am too. Yeah.
So next week we will talk about Stranger Things 2, all of my thoughts on Billy, and I hope he gets better, because I'm tired of him.
Billy?
Yeah.
That was Bob.
No, Billy is the Lost Boy
Oh, Will.
looking motherfucker. No, Billy is the older Lost Boy looking guy.
Oh.
Oh, what do you think I'm talking about?
I don't know. That was a real trip.
Okay, anyway, all of our thoughts
We
on
have lots of thoughts. We've been.
Sad Dad Jim Hopper and obnoxious
MVP.
Sean Astin.
I like him. I like Samwise. I think he's a good guy.
Steve coming back hot.
A
As
real
a-
babysitter club.
Yeah. So we'll get into that all next week. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Send us pics of your costumes.
Send me good thoughts on Tuesday. I have to present for class or lead the discussion
Oh
on
yeah,
Tuesday's
on
class
Halloween in our
about horror movies
grad school.
in front of like a
A
wildly
bunch
mixed,
of obnoxious dipshits, but anyway.
in front of a wildly mixed group. Yes.
Mhm, yeah. So that'll be fun. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Thank you for listening. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Keel behaved like a man demented, obsessed, utterly lost.